The world's media has been a veritable storm in recent days. The biggest beverage manufacturer in China, Nongfu Spring, has accomplished what was thought to be impossible for decades. According to reports from prominent publications like the Financial Times and Bloomberg, as well as experts in the Chinese food sector, they were able to replicate the recipe for Coca-Cola, one of the most secret trade secrets in history, with almost 90% accuracy. This is referred to as a sensation in the industry. Numerous rivals have attempted to copy the cola recipe for almost a century, but each time they have failed, producing only variations that never taste exactly the same. China, which has long aimed to establish its own international brands, now seems to have made a move that could upend the standing of an American economic titan. Sources close to the leadership of the company, Nongfu Spring, employed a wide range of contemporary technology, including artificial intelligence educated on millions of flavor combinations and molecular-level chemical analysis. This is what made it possible for Chinese experts to approximate the original flavor, which was thought to be distinct up until this point. It should be mentioned, nevertheless, that the replication is not perfect. Experts note that a trained palate will be able to discern the Coca-Cola non-Fu drink, yet the average consumer barely notices the difference. This is portrayed in Beijing as a breakthrough that might lead to a big advertising campaign and an increase in the global power of the Chinese brand. However, Wall Street Journal experts point out that it is too soon to declare that Coca-Cola will soon be shutting down. Coca-Cola is more than just a drink. Over the years, the business has evolved into a representation of the American ideal and a component of Western culture. The Olympic Games, Christmas, and advertising campaigns that bring millions of people together all use the red and white emblem. For many generations, cola is associated with feelings, a way of life, and a component of global identity rather than the taste of caramel or carbonation. For this reason, even if the Chinese brand proves to be more affordable or tastes almost the same as the original, people worldwide will not drastically abandon the well-known brand for its Chinese equivalent. Analysts stress that Coca-Cola's position will unavoidably be challenged, though. Given China's massive production capacity and ability to plan vigorous marketing campaigns for the new product in the Asian, African, and Latin American markets, the American corporation will have to invest more billions of dollars to safeguard its brand and improve its reputation. According to Nikkei Asia, Nongfu is already planning a massive marketing effort aimed at the younger demographic, who is far more open to trying new products and less reliant on Western symbols. There may be fierce market competition if the Chinese are able to associate their beverage with good lifestyle choices, low sugar levels, and reasonable prices, where Coca-Cola remains certain. It's interesting to note that Coca-Cola has refrained from making public statements. However, working groups to assess hazards have already been established in Atlanta, according to Reuters sources inside the company. In the event that it is established that the formula was copied using unlawful means, the company's attorneys are contemplating legal action. However, analysts caution that even if Coca-Cola attempts to turn to since the Nongfu Spring formula changes by at least that 10%, it will be very difficult to prove a direct breach of fines or limits. As a result, it might already be regarded legally as a new product rather than a complete replica. The announcement generated a mixed response on the markets. CNBC analysts characterized the several percent decline in Coca-Cola shares on the New York Stock Exchange as an emotional response from investors. Asian investors' conviction that the Chinese do have a chance to challenge the American Goliath was demonstrated by the strong increase in Nongfu Spring stock on the Hong Kong exchange at the same time. Even while the beverage won't be able to completely replace Coca-Cola, experts stress that the fear of competition could shift the power dynamics in the global soft drink market. The Economist's analysts predict that this story will eventually turn into a component of the larger economic conflict between China and the United States. Even emblems of soft power are now under threat. Whereas formerly the emphasis was on electronics, semiconductors, or military technologies, Coca-Cola has never been just a company. It was an aspect of American culture that traveled the world with fast food, music, and movies. China is already demonstrating its ability to compete, even in fields like cultural branding, where it previously appeared unachievable. Therefore, this is more than just a tale about a drink copy. China is attempting to change the rules of the game as part of a global process. And even those positions that were deemed invincible for decades now have to be defended by the United States. Furthermore, the emergence of a Chinese competitor is a danger sign for the entire business, even though Coca-Cola will probably continue to dominate due to its heritage, symbolism, and enormous advertising expenditures. Because other well-known emblems may also be contested if the most revered of American corporations can be imitated. Additionally, this is the reason why the news is so loud and harmful for the global market's future. Experts concur that Washington is unlikely to do nothing in response to the challenge to the U.S. from Nongfu Spring. Politico, citing White House insiders, claims that the administration is already debating potential government support for Coca-Cola at the level of a nationally significant cultural brand. This would effectively elevate the brand to a soft diplomacy instrument by allowing it to be used in initiatives that promote American ideals overseas. After all, Coca-Cola has been a defining characteristic of the United States for many years, and its disappearance could be seen as a blow to the country's sense of identity. The United States might potentially employ commercial and legal processes, according to some observers. In an instance, this would entail prohibiting the importation of non-Nongfu Spring goods into Western nations on the grounds of unfair competition or infringement of intellectual property rights in other countries. Although it will be challenging to prove direct copying, the mere prospect of an inquiry by U.S. or European antitrust authorities may deter investors and impede the growth of the Chinese beverage. However, certain specialists do not subscribe to the efficiency of coercive tactics. According to the Harvard Business Review, the primary conflict will take place in consumers' thoughts rather than in courts or trade associations. With new advertising efforts that further connect the beverage to holidays, cultural events, and the American way of life, Coca-Cola will need to fortify the emotional element of its brand. Stated differently, if Nongfu Spring competes on the basis of taste and cost, Coca-Cola needs to play in the areas of history, emotions, and symbolism where it still lacks a counterpart. It's interesting to note that according to certain insiders quoted by Axios, Coca-Cola headquarters is already debating the possibility of producing a limited edition beverage that emphasizes premium quality and the original recipe's distinctiveness. Marketers want to draw attention to the fact that there is only one authentic cola and that all others are imitations. Customers might experience a psychological barrier as a result of this action. The Chinese version will always be viewed as inferior, even if it tastes comparable. However, in the United States, it is acknowledged that the situation's symbolism poses a greater threat than just the drink's content. China is capable of upending other cornerstones of Western branding if it was able to replicate the Coca-Cola formula. In this way, the problem goes beyond the soft market for beverages, but about the international rivalry of concepts, symbols, and cultural norms. The question is whether the United States can continue to lead, or if a new era is dawning when even the most iconic representations of the American way of life are no longer untouchable.